Welcome to another episode of Background Screening Tips and Tech. I'm your host, Tim Santoni, and today I wanted to do a legislative alert for California specifically. This goes out to background screening providers, wholesalers, employers, and anyone in risk mitigation that values background screening as a necessary part of screening employees. There's some pretty impactful things going on in California from a legislative perspective, and I wanted to jump on and provide some updates so I can point out what it is that's going on, what it is that you can do, how you can get involved. So please stick around till the end, and I'll provide some resources and some information on how you can stay up to date on what's going on in the crazy state of California. So California again proves to be a challenging state for the background screening industry, as evident by the most recent legislative session. We are still early in the legislative calendar for 2023, but the information I want to share is critical because employers and background screeners need to be prepared to take action. First, an update on the efforts being made by the major associations in the background screening space. The PBSA, the Professional Background Screening Association, is again partnering with the Consumer Data Industry Association, the CDIA, to address the concerning bills in California. The interests of PBSA and the CDIA are aligned, and the partnership is extremely valuable. Additionally, PBSA has retained a lobbyist in the state of California to work alongside the CDIA's lobbyists because the bills before us require experts on the ground working on behalf of the screening industry every day. First, let's start with an update on the positive efforts being made by the PBSA in California. The California bill, SB 647, is a bill to restore access to full dates of birth in California. You might recall that this bill last year made it through both houses before being vetoed by Governor Newsom. This year, efforts are again being made to restore access. However, with the veto on the prior bill, this is even a bigger hill to climb. Generally speaking, the background screening industry was focused on SB 647 for this year, 2023. However, this all changed on February 17th when two bills were filed that could effectively ban background screening unless you have a legal requirement to conduct a background check. This is very concerning, and I wanted to share information on both of the bills and then provide some suggestions on how you can get involved to help spread the word about the impact this legislation could have on employers and background screeners in the state of California. Again, stick around to the end, I'll provide you some more details. Okay, California SB 460. A bill effectively banning tenant screening unless you have a legal requirement to conduct a background check for tenancy. It mirrors recent actions by Alameda County and the cities of Oakland and Berkeley. While this bill was recently dropped from the 2023 legislative calendar, it is expected to be reintroduced in 2024. So efforts to defeat the bill and work alongside our allies is really necessary. Now the more concerning one for background screeners dealing with employment, California SB 809, a bill effectively banning employment screening unless there is a legal requirement to background check for employment purposes. This bill remains active, and the PBSA has information to suggest it is undergoing amendments, which could impact whether it will be acceptable or not. However, this bill will be discussed in a committee meeting on April the 11th. The expectation that if this bill continues forward, it will pass out of committee because the author of the bill is also the chair of the committee where its first hearing will take place. PBSA and their allies are working closely with the California Chamber on this bill. As you're aware, the Chamber represents the voice of many employers in the community, and their voice and leadership is critical to our opposition. If SB 809 progresses, we believe we will need all employers, particularly California employers, to write and call legislators to sign onto letters opposing this bill. For many employers, this type of activity requires notice so they can make their executive leadership aware of its bill and the impact on them and advise them on the anticipated need for future engagement. It is critically important that employers get familiar with these bills very quickly so that they are comfortable taking action when the time comes. As of now, there's not a ton of information, but I encourage you guys to stay tuned. Email me directly, tim@santonibackgrounds.com, and I will make sure that you receive updates regarding these bills as they become available. I strongly encourage you as an employer to follow and or join the PBSA, as they have some great resources and are constantly providing updates. Their efforts and their resources for legislation efforts in California are critically important to this fight. If you can provide any resources to them, it's really important, as that's what they need to fight these bills. You can find PBSA by visiting thepbsa.org and tune in more on a future episode of this podcast, as I will continue to update you regarding these bills and future bills in California. Thanks so much for tuning in to Background Screening Tips and Tech. Be safe.